Something is happening to you right now that cannot be explained. Stop. Feel that. There is a love living inside you that the world was never meant to see, and yet here you are, still carrying it, still breathing through it, still unable to put it down no matter how many times you told yourself you would. Take one breath before we go further, because what comes next is something your mind has been fighting and your soul has already accepted as true. You did not stumble onto this message. You were pulled here. Something in you recognized the signal before you even knew what you were looking for. There is a connection in your life that breaks every rule. It does not fit the timeline. It does not match the plan anyone had for you. It was never supposed to happen, but it did. And no matter how many logical conversations you have had with yourself about it, no matter how many times you have tried to close that door, it swings back open. It stays. It expands. It finds you at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it follows you into your waking hours. Welcome to Soul Signal. Please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss when the universe has something to share with you. The first thing I need you to hear before a single other word is this. What you feel is not wrong. The world may have told you differently. The people closest to you may not have the capacity to understand it. You may have spent years trying to argue yourself out of it. But a feeling with this kind of gravity does not appear without a reason. A love this consuming is not confusion. It is not a phase. It is not a symptom of something broken inside you. What you feel is a signal. It is your spirit recognizing something that logic was never built to contain. And the reason it refuses to leave is because it was never designed to. This connection did not begin when the two of you crossed paths. It did not start the moment things changed between you. It started somewhere older, somewhere quieter, somewhere neither of you can point to but both of you have sensed since the beginning. Some connections are made by people, but some connections are made by something that operates beyond human choice. A soul agreement that existed before either of you understood what it would demand. This is one of those. That is why it feels unlike anything that came before it. That is why everyone else feels like a comparison that never lands. That is why leaving feels less like walking away from a person and more like tearing yourself in half. Because you are not leaving a person. You are leaving the most honest version of yourself you have ever known. Perhaps they are older than you, perhaps younger, perhaps they are already in another life with another person. Perhaps the people who raised you would never accept it. Perhaps you come from worlds that were never designed to overlap. Perhaps the miles between you have no clean solution. Perhaps the timing has always been broken. Perhaps the world would come for both of you if the truth ever surfaced. Perhaps it is a love that has not found its name yet. But it is there, and you feel it in places words do not reach. What you feel is not wrong. Whatever form this love takes in your reality, the root of it is the same. It is real. It is not manufactured by loneliness. It is not a story your mind invented to fill an empty space. You did not design this feeling. You did not request something this difficult. But it arrived, and it is real. And nothing with this kind of power lands in a human heart without purpose. If this already sounds like something written for you specifically, type "I feel this" in the comments. If you are holding a love that has no safe place to land, let the universe hear that you are paying attention. This person feels it too. You need to know that. You have spent too many nights alone with the question of whether any of this is mutual, whether you are the only one lying awake, whether what passed between you was real or just a story you wrote in the gaps of your own loneliness. It was not a story. It was never a story. Whatever they project on the outside, whatever armor they put on in the morning, whatever careful distance they maintain between you, underneath every single layer of that, they feel exactly what you feel. They did not plan this either. They did not sign up for this wait. They fought it. They minimized it. They gave it smaller names. They built a compartment inside their mind just for you, a contained space, a quiet corner, a box they could lock and step away from. But you do not stay in the box. You have never fit inside it. Every time they convince themselves they have finally managed it, something brings you back. Your image, your voice, the specific way you made them feel. And the box breaks apart all over again. They are not healed. They have not released this. They have not crossed to the other side of what they feel for you. They are just terrified. Terrified of what this love requires. Terrified of what it would cost them to say it honestly. Terrified of how other people would reposition them if the truth came out. Terrified of everything they would need to dismantle in their life to make space for what they actually want. So they go silent. They hold the distance. They perform okay to anyone watching. But okay is the greatest deception they repeat to themselves every single day. And the truth finds its way out anyway. In the moments they cannot choreograph. They look at you when nobody else is watching. They say your name with a frequency they use for no one else. They drift into your space and then correct themselves because someone might register what that means. They laugh at something you said and then cut their eyes away because their expression said more than was safe. They remember the texture of small moments with you that no one else would think to hold on to. The way you handle a cup. The angle of your head when your mind is working. The sound of your voice when you are exhausted. These are not things a person catalogues about someone they are neutral toward. These are the things a heart quietly gathers when it is in love with someone it cannot claim. They carry these fragments like something precious that belongs only to them. Invisible to the world. Spoken about to no one. A private archive of moments that exist only in the space between your souls. And when everything else shuts down at night, and there is no performance left to give, they open that archive. They let themselves feel it without the guard up, and for a stretch of quiet minutes they stop lying. For a few minutes they are just honest. And in that honesty, what lives there is you. What lives there is a love so vast it frightens them. What lives there is not wrong, no matter what every rule says about it. Carl Jung once said that what you resist only intensifies. That is precisely what is happening inside this person every day. Every attempt they make to push you out strengthens your presence. Every instruction they give themselves to stop only makes the feeling rise louder. Every time they choose silence, their heart turns up the volume. They cannot win this because they are not actually fighting you. They are fighting their own soul. And no one has ever successfully won a war against their own soul. What exists between you is not something a decision can dismantle. It is not a switch. It is not a choice that can be made once and honored forever. It is an energetic cord threading through both hearts regardless of geography. You feel it when you think of them suddenly in the middle of an ordinary moment with no trigger. You feel it when a heaviness that does not belong to your own day settles into your chest. You feel it when 3 o'clock in the morning finds you awake for no reason you can name, with a weight sitting on you that feels borrowed. That weight is not yours. It belongs to them. It is the pressure of their longing traveling across the invisible connection between your two souls. That is not metaphor. That is emotional telepathy. That is two hearts having conversations that the mouth was never invited to. That is the soul agreement fulfilling exactly what it was made to do, keeping you tethered even when the circumstances try to create separation. Type the first letter of their name in the comments. No explanation needed. No one else has to understand. Only you know the face that has been with you since the first sentence of this message. That letter is your private acknowledgement, and the universe receives it completely. You have been carrying this without a witness for far too long. The specific heaviness of loving someone the rule book says you should not. The exhausting work of performing indifference when everything in you is anything but indifferent. The skill you developed of smiling in the right moments when your heart is somewhere else entirely. The automatic response of fine when the honest answer would take hours to tell. You have been stronger than anyone in your life has any idea. Because the most invisible kind of strength is the kind that never gets to announce itself. The kind that holds everything behind a steady face, because there is no one close enough to the truth to be trusted with it. Your friends could not hear it. Your family could not hold it. There was nowhere public to set it down or grieve it openly or ask for guidance, because the moment the words left your mouth, the judgment would begin. People would try to classify it, correct it, redirect you away from something that lives at a depth no outside opinion can access. So you learned to carry it alone. But what you feel is not wrong. Your heart is not damaged. Your heart is courageous, brave enough to contain something that arrived without a permission slip. Brave enough to love past the boundaries other people drew around what is acceptable. Press your hand against your chest right now. Notice the beat beneath your palm. That heartbeat is not confused. That heartbeat knows with absolute clarity who it loves. You have been clenching against this in places you stopped noticing long ago. Release it for this moment. You are held here. Nothing is watching to condemn you. This is only you and the truth that has always been yours. Something fundamental has shifted in you recently. You are not who you were at the beginning of this. At the start there was chaos inside you. Fear. Daily self-questioning. You interrogated yourself constantly. Asked if something was broken in you for feeling this particular way. Wondered if you were the problem. Wondered if you were being punished by whatever runs the universe, that it would place someone this right for you inside a situation this impossible. But that interrogation has quieted. Something moved in you without ceremony, the way real transformation always moves. You stopped apologizing to yourself for what lives in you. You stopped packaging it as nothing. You stopped attempting to behave normally about something that never had a normal version. And something quieter replaced all of that. An acceptance. This feeling is woven into you. It is not departing. And holding it does not make you someone who did something wrong. What you feel is not wrong. Holding it makes you truthful. It makes you human. It makes you one of the rare people willing to feel what the majority of people run from their entire lives without ever stopping to look at why. You no longer move through your days apologizing internally for this love. You do not broadcast it. But you have stopped treating it like an illness that requires a cure. And that private shift has altered your energy in ways that are invisible to you, but completely legible to them. They feel it. They can feel that something is different in you now. The urgency has left your frequency. The reaching has stopped. You are no longer operating from the part of yourself that was chasing something that kept retreating. They feel that you have found a ground that does not require them to stand on, and that has destabilized them completely. Because when you were unsettled, they felt certain you were still anchored to them. When you were reaching toward them, they felt wanted. When you were hurting, it was evidence of your devotion, but your groundedness changes the entire map. Your groundedness suggests you could actually leave, not because the love dissolved, but because you finally located your own value. Your steadiness frightens them more than your worst moments ever did. Your quiet frightens them more than any confrontation could. Because your quiet is not surrender. It is the particular silence of someone who just remembered exactly who they are. Your energy signature has been rewritten. They feel it across whatever distance sits between you. The frequency you carry now is unrecognizable compared to the one you carried when you were still waiting to be chosen, and they do not have a response to it prepared. A door is closing, not violently, not with any final speech, not with tears or accusations, just the soft definitive sound of a latch finding its place. And they are standing on the outside of it, realizing they may have miscalculated how much time they had. What you feel is not wrong, and the act of choosing yourself is not abandonment. It is the only honest thing left to do. You did not come into this willingly, but your soul did, before this body, before you learned which things were allowed and which things required apology, before anyone handed you the template for what love is supposed to resemble. Your soul entered an agreement with this person's soul, not an agreement to suffer indefinitely, not an agreement to wait in position until they gathered enough courage, an agreement to find each other, to see each other with a recognition that bypasses the ordinary, to be changed because of each other, to become different people because this happened. That growth is not always beautiful from the inside. Sometimes growth looks exactly like two people who are meant for each other, standing on opposite sides of something neither one built. But the expansion is happening, in you, in them, simultaneously. Right now, somewhere in the world, this person is in a room pretending to be occupied, but their attention is not where their body is. Their attention is on you. They are revisiting a moment that had no significance to anyone observing, but held enormous significance for them. And fear is present, because they are beginning to feel the version of you that knows its own worth, and they recognize that the version of you who would wait without conditions is receding. The force that drew you together does not miscalculate connections of this weight. The universe understood exactly what it was arranging when it placed this specific person on your specific path. And it understood what it was doing when it made the love complicated. Not as punishment, as preparation. Because love that arrives easily teaches you what comfort feels like. But love that costs you something teaches you who you actually are underneath everything the world put on you. It reveals the depths your heart can reach. It surfaces the courage that was always in you. It shows you the distance between the life you were assigned and the life your soul actually came here for. No explanation is owed to the world for what lives in your heart. No apology is required before you are ready to speak your truth out loud. The people who would judge this do not have the interior landscape to understand it. Their verdict comes from a place that has never been touched by a love that refuses to follow the available categories. They have never felt this. They do not need to. This is between your soul and whatever placed you both here. And that force is not looking at you with judgment. Type "not wrong" in the comments if the world decided this love had no right to exist. Let those 2 words be your small, quiet act of resistance. This person is inside their own storm right now. The evidence may not be visible to you. The surface of their life may appear stable, but inside they are being pulled in 2 directions by the same love you are carrying. There are nights when the ceiling becomes the only thing they can see clearly, while they try to trace how they ended up in a love that came with no instructions and no permission. They move through their days in a costume that grows less comfortable every week. They perform warmth in the correct moments. They produce the expected words. They inhabit the role. But inside that role is something pressing against the walls that no one around them has ever been shown. Something that sounds like your name, only louder than sound. They open whatever window leads to you in the small hours, and then close it before it becomes something they have to account for. They compose a message that would reach you, and then dismantle it before it sends. Not because the desire to reach you is not real, but because reaching you would collapse the story they have been telling about what they feel. And they are not yet standing on solid enough ground to survive that collapse. They measure everyone against you without choosing to. It happens automatically. And when the measurement returns what it always returns, they feel the gap like a physical thing. Nobody listens with the specific attention you gave them. Nobody reflects them back the way you did. Nobody silences the internal noise the way proximity to you always managed to. They know this. They wake up knowing it. And the knowing is the sharpest thing they carry, because knowing removes the last exit from the maze. Knowing means the performance fits less convincingly. Knowing means the interior truth has been gaining on the exterior story for a long time. Knowing means somewhere beneath everything they show, the real version has already won. The universe has been communicating. You may have been receiving without fully acknowledging it. The number 222 surfaces repeatedly on clocks, on printed receipts, on passing plates, on screens at the precise wrong moment. 222 is not noise, it is signal. It is something beyond the ordinary, speaking to the subject of balance, of duality, of 2 souls that hold each other as mirrors. It is delivering the message that this connection is not accidental architecture. It is intentional design. Not a sentence you are serving, a shape the divine drew for a purpose. Neither of you has the full view of yet. You dream of this person. Not every night, but when you do, the morning carries the weight of it for hours. It feels more textured and more present than most of what you move through in daylight. You surface from sleep, and for the first seconds you believe they are close. You reach toward that warmth, and the room reminds you where you are. Music finds you that contains the exact words you had no container for. Not because you were hunting for it, because the path was arranged. You feel warmth in the center of your chest without a source you can locate. That warmth is not weather. That is their energy extending toward yours across whatever sits between you. A wave of something unnamed moves through a quiet moment, and you know in a way that requires no evidence that they are with you in their mind right now. None of this is accidental. Coincidence is not a feature of stories authored by something higher. These are coordinates. The timing the universe operates on does not consult either of your schedules. It reads further ahead than either of you can. But while it moves in its own direction, I need to return something to you that you may have handed over without meaning to. You do not owe them your waiting. You do not owe them your nights. You do not owe them the equilibrium you rebuilt from nothing. Their love for you is real, but it does not set the clock you live by. Their pain does not author your next move. You can hold love for someone in the deepest room of your heart and still choose yourself at the door. You can carry someone with you and still walk in a direction that serves your own becoming. You can hold them in warmth and still keep your life closed to anything less than someone who loves you, without requiring darkness to do it. That is not coldness. That is not cruelty. That is what it looks like when someone has become whole. You are not here to rescue someone from their own unwillingness to be honest. You are not here to stand in a waiting room until someone decides you are worth the risk of full daylight. You are here to live the full version of your life, to grow into everything your soul arrived here to become. And if this person is genuinely threaded into your path by something real, then nothing you do to honor your own worth will remove them from the story. Because what is real is not threatened by your self-respect. What is real is drawn closer by it. You have already given more than most hearts would have offered. You have already loved past the point where most people would have redirected themselves towards something easier. You were carrying two when they could barely hold their own weight. None of that was wrong. Every bit of it was love. But you are also not wrong for the shift that is happening now. And they feel it. Right now they are somewhere in motion, occupying a space with their body, while their mind is entirely elsewhere, entirely with you. They are holding a moment that was invisible to the world and irreplaceable to them, and something adjacent to panic is rising, because the version of you that had no bottom, that would wait and wait and wait, is becoming something else. What you feel is not wrong. What you want is not wrong. What you visit in the privacy of your own silence is not wrong. The world builds fences. The world writes the terms. The world decides the acceptable dimensions of love and who is authorized to love whom, under what conditions, using what timeline. But the soul was never issued that handbook. The soul registers what it registers. And when yours encountered theirs, something that predates both of you came awake. Something that has no interest in age or geography, or schedules or status, or any of the enclosures the world uses to manage love into something it can monitor. The soul deals only in truth, and the truth is that you are bound to this person in a way that no external decree has the authority to dissolve. Jung believed that the heaviest thing a person can carry is the life they chose not to live. Do not let this love become the thing you described to yourself in 20 years as the one you were too afraid to claim. Do not allow the world's architecture to become the walls of your own interior life. That is not a directive to move today. It is not an instruction to detonate anything in this moment. It is an invitation to stop issuing yourself a punishment that was never yours to carry in the first place. You did not commit a crime by loving someone, even someone the world drew a line around. Love has never been the offense. Fear is, and you are not the one who is afraid. Type soul contract in the comments if you believe this connection arrived in your life, carrying a purpose that the visible world cannot account for. Something is fracturing inside this person right now. The partition they constructed between who they are publicly and who they are when your name enters their mind is becoming structural paper. There was a time when the separation was manageable. The public version that follows all the unspoken rules. The private version that loves you in the space between sleeping and waking. But those two versions are losing the ability to remain in separate rooms. Your name enters their thoughts during moments that require their complete attention elsewhere. Your face arrives when they are trying to anchor to something else entirely. A memory of a specific thing you said surfaces without warning and pulls at the corner of their expression. And then they scan the room to assess what anyone registered. They are depleting their reserves, trying to maintain the distance. They are running out of architecture to hide inside. They are losing the capacity to sustain a performance this demanding. And one day in the not far distance, the performance will simply stop. Not because someone issued an ultimatum, because the energy required to live two parallel truths will have exceeded whatever they have left to spend on it. Perhaps one day they choose honesty over the version of safety that was never actually keeping them safe. Perhaps one day they stop auditing themselves against what the world expects of them. Perhaps one day they look at you and the words that have been living behind every other word finally come forward. Perhaps one day they reach and this time do not calculate the cost before their hand finds yours. Perhaps one day the message they have typed and deleted more times than they can count will finally travel all the way to you.